Hello and welcome to the Health Detective Podcast by Functional Diagnostic Nutrition. We bring you interviews from people who have conquered the trickiest of health challenges using the Functional Diagnostic Nutrition philosophy and similar healing modalities. You're going to hear from experts who have been through the ringer with their health issues and yet managed to come out on the other side. You can always visit us at functionaldiagnosticnutrition.com, but for now, here is today's episode. Love us there. All right. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Health Detective Podcast by Functional Diagnostic Nutrition. My name is Evan Transu, aka Detective Ev, and I will be your host for today's show, episode number 378 of the Health Detective Podcast. We got a fun and free thing to invite you guys today, but we're going to talk about some cool information regarding said topic and invitation. First, and you're probably like, what the heck is that? What is that all about? Well, it's about one of our advanced courses that just came out. So we're super excited about this. We got to give a huge shout out to our friend here at FDN, colleague Nicole Kruger. She has just been helping the advanced courses at FDN move right along. So we're very excited about that. One other thing I would like to share with you beforehand, if I still have this here, I do not, and that is my fault. I'll get that back for you. We have I have it in my QR codes, I think. Here you go. So what I wanted to do first is if you guys are considering the FDN course this month, maybe because it's, November, and typically there's a day that happens after Thanksgiving in the US, and people get very excited about that because sometimes things that they're looking into might be a lower price than normal. Who knows if we're going to do that? Maybe, maybe not. If you want to know more about that, though, definitely get the QR code there. If you're already an FDN or FDN trainee, those events wouldn't be as relevant to you. But if you are just a part of the public, then you can learn plenty from these events. And if you want to do FDN, it's also a good idea to hop there as well. So I will leave that QR code for you. But I want to introduce our guest today. This is someone that if you've been listening for any amount of time, you've definitely heard her before. We've had her on many times. I've done many Instagram lives with her as well. It is none other than Dr. Lori Rose. So thank you for being here with us today.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here.
This is always one of my best energy guests. We just bounce off of each other, especially if you get us going. So we'll be careful of that today because we can really start bouncing around here, and it's fun. But I want to talk about a webinar that we have coming up. I'll actually put that in the comments as well, because this webinar is going to be, I kind of want to frame this for you guys correctly. You're going to get some information today. We always want to lead with value for you guys. The webinar itself is more of a formal presentation on this weight loss topic. And then if you really want to take it to the next level, you'll be able to do our advanced course on weight loss. But if you've ever done a workshop or webinar with us, you know the way that we do it is lead with value first. So you guys will always get something out of it. Are you going to get everything in the webinar that you'd get from the course? Obviously not. That's why we have a course, but we always want to make sure that we're delivering first. So, Dr. Lori, let's talk about this first. Why weight loss? And what I mean by that, it's like, well, of course, isn't that a huge topic? But that's my point. It's so big. It's like the first thing that someone gets advertised to them if they're in the health space. So you would almost think, like, how could there possibly still be something unique to say about this? Now, I know you well enough to know you're always going to have unique insights. But for those that don't know you, why this topic and what new things can we actually bring to this?
Oh my goodness. Speaking of rolling and needing someone to have a stop sign at the end, right? There's so much wrong around the topic of weight loss. In fact, everything we know around the paradigm of weight loss is wrong. Like, that just seems like such a cliche blanket statement to say, like, everything you know is wrong, so come learn all the right things from me. But so let me back up. If anyone's interested in weight loss, right, what do? We get online, we find a dietitian, we look at all these weight loss programs, and everyone listening can probably tell you what you're going to find out. Eat less, exercise more, get to your BMI goal weight. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, that's pretty straightforward. It should work. Let's go. If you look at the science of each of those things, the eating, the exercising, and the BMI, they're all unsubstantiated by any scientific research. And in order to put my own stop sign up, I'll stop there and see if you have follow-up questions or if I should just keep rolling.
Well, no, and I will say this as well, because I said Dr. Lori Rose, but I did not specify. I mean, yeah, Lori is a scientist. She is a PhD. You are a professor at a community college that's in Texas, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so like this is someone that, yes, knows science. And I only say that because, not to discredit myself, I mean, I like to believe I know science, but I come on here without formal credentials, and I understand why people want those sometimes. So you're hearing this from someone that actually dives into the literature and has to have, I can't even imagine everything that actually would have had to do to obtain a PhD, right? But this is not just someone spouting stuff on YouTube randomly. So it's not that I have follow-up questions per se. I would list off an example that immediately comes to mind. And I think this is why people get so discouraged with this topic, because the same things are taught over and over again, but the experience of each individual ends up being different.
Yes.
And I saw this firsthand. I know people will get mad. I've never had the problem of losing weight. I've actually had the opposite problem, where I found it very tough to gain weight, even in what I thought was a notable caloric surplus. And again, grass is always greener on the other side. You don't want to be, a 140 pound, 6-foot guy any more than you want to be, a 500 pound person. And that's not to make fun of myself back then or someone else dealing with that situation. It's just, clearly, I don't think anyone wakes up and wants to have that. We want to look good. We want to look healthy. And what I found that would always tick me off is I kept eating more and more, to the point that this was the highest I ever got. I was at over 4,000 calories a day, tracked, not my opinion, like tracked on MyFitnessPal, making sure I'm good to go, scanning everything, weighing things. And I still could not get over about 160 pounds at that time. And was I lifting weights? Yes. But I also did not recognize anything in my life that I was doing that would justify burning that many calories. And then I find out that my buddy, who's an awesome guy, he's actually competed in strongman at the national levels in United States. And so he has done this. And I found out his bulking calories this is a guy who trains 6-7 days a week. And he's 230, 240 plus pounds at the time, was 3,500 calories.
Under what you were eating. Yeah.
I'm like, don't tell me, there's no way this guy's exercising less than me. So there's something more here than just calories in, calories out. So sorry, I don't want to go off all on that on myself, but yeah, I don't have questions. It's just more, I've experienced this, and I know it can't be as simple as that.
Right. And that's such an important follow-up to, like, yes, I have this science background in teaching. All of this stuff is my job, so I'm surrounded by it. But I also am a human woman on this planet, right? In this country, who's surrounded by this weight loss culture. And so I've had my own journeys and my own experiences, as I imagine everyone here has, and all of our clients have. And like you said, what actually happens to us when we follow these instructions, as wonderful instruction obeying students as we are, right? Like, we do what they tell us to do, and it doesn't work. And and then we get down on ourselves because we think we're the only ones that it doesn't work for. Mm-hmm. But if you look at the science, again, the science around how and what they tell us to eat, how much and how they tell us to exercise, how they tell us to use BMI, and what they tell us to measure when we're on this journey, it's all unsubstantiated. Never has calories in, calories out shown to be effective in the long term. In fact, never has it been shown to be safe and improve health metrics. That's something that shocked a lot of people. The exercise recommendations, that's where we all actually kind of follow instructions poorly. We all pick like one part of the exercise instructions. We either have the cardio camp, the weightlifting camp, or the no exercise camp. And they're all kind of wrong. But even if we did follow the exercise instructions correctly, they're not substantiated by science to improve weight or improve health the way we do it. And then using weight as a metric of health, using BMI as a metric of health, has never been substantiated. Essentially, they just collapsed human metabolism and experience into a math formula that's supposed to be applied to everyone, ignores everything about food composition and human organ system needs, and then says, okay, plug yourself into this chart and reach this number, even though this chart has never been shown to be, consistently correlated with health for everybody.
Well, okay, that's particularly fascinating to me, and that is news to me because I always kind of thought it was an aspect of like the phrase "the best lies are half true." Because, and this part is true, if I eat 0 calories a day, which I don't think I have to specify this. This is not
Don't do
medical
that,
advice.
guys.
It's not a suggestion. No one's saying that. If I eat 0 calories a day indefinitely, not only will I lose weight, I will no longer be here. But similarly, other than like Michael Phelps when he was training for the Olympics at that time, if you're eating 10,000 calories a day, I could bet pretty assuredly that most people would gain weight from that. And I think we could say that confidently. So when you go to the extremes, it is true, but then you start getting a little tighter there and it becomes very nuanced. But I never knew that there was almost nothing substantial about this in terms of the evidence for it being a marker of health. So then my question to you would be, especially with BMI, where did that come from? Because there's certain trends that just take off because of TikTok and the internet, but BMI precedes all of that. So where did this come from?
Yeah, these are all, and again, I try to stay out of conspiracy theory explanations.
Okay.
So I don't know how or why or who benefited or if it was just accidental for this whole BMI weight is the ideal weight equals health came from.
Mhm.
What I do know is sometimes BMI correlates with health. Sometimes BMI does not correlate with health. That's not science, right? That's just like sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. No clinical trial would ever approve something that sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But we took this thing that sometimes people in this BMI are healthy. Let's tell everyone to be this BMI. When you can have people in the healthy BMI range be completely unhealthy, right? We can all think of someone right now who's like, oh, you're the ideal weight, but you're totally unhealthy.
Sure.
Or you can have people in the obese BMI weight, like bodybuilders, right? Like they would be considered obese by BMI, or short people. Right? It's almost impossible for short people to be in the healthy BMI, yet they're healthy. Or someone who's like a little overweight, right? Even they do carry excess body fat, but they're healthy, right? Their blood sugar is balanced, their blood pressure is fine, their immune system's top notch. So then why, right? Like, why do we have this BMI chart? But we all do, and we all have this social pressure that we feel about it. Males have, one kind of pressure and females have another kind of pressure, but we all have this pressure, right? Sure. We all do. And it's all based on this chart.
I like that you mentioned the bodybuilder thing because for those that don't realize, let's exclude the bodybuilders that are competing at the highest level or just want to be Instagram famous and are using hormones and other things illegally. We get that. What Dr. Lori is saying, though, is even natural bodybuilders, especially if they were starting to trend towards their natural limits, which everyone does have to some degree. And what I mean by to some degree is like there gets to a point where if you're training perfectly and eating very well, like you really can only gain so much muscle. You'll keep doing little bits here and there, but like most of your biggest muscle gains actually come in the first 2-3 years of training if you're training very well. The point is a natural bodybuilder who is otherwise actually probably a picture of health. Again, not the people competing on stages at the highest level, because they have more muscle mass. That's correlated with longevity. Grip strength is correlated with longevity. Quad strength, thigh strength is correlated with longevity. So these people are probably doing things better than most individuals. And you're right, their BMI would label them in this obese category. And how asinine must that be if they go into the doctor's office and the person is labeling them as obese when they have a six-pack, and it's the middle of winter or something because they train year round. So that's crazy. For those sorry.
Yeah. Like a more common experience is someone who just happens to start wanting to lose weight. And so they lose weight, gain muscle. And at first the scale's going down, down, down. And they're like, woohoo. But then the scale starts going up, up, up. And you're like, what the H, right? Like I'm doing everything that I was doing before. Well, that's because like muscle mass and fat mass are totally different and impact the scale different. And your body composition is changing healthfully. But this number on the scale that we're told is the only metric to pay attention to isn't cooperating.
Yeah. So if you guys look at the link below, fdntraining.com/weight loss webinar, it's a free training, by the way. So you guys can go there. It's $0 with that link, and you can join us for that. What are some of the things, and I guess obviously we're going to touch on this topic and the idea that calories in, calories out might be a little misleading. What are some other things, or even maybe truths that we're going to, or widely accepted truths that we're going to challenge? What are some other things that they can hope to get from the webinar specifically?
Yeah, we're definitely going to dive even deeper into the flaws. Like, what does the science really say happens when we follow calories in, calories out, short term, long term? What happens to our health? Because we're supposed to be doing this as a metric of health. Like, what are the health impacts of following these recommendations? Then we'll talk about the right ways to look at those three things, right? Like, what should we be eating? How should we be moving? What should we be measuring? What is correlated with health? What things actually do impact the number on the scale and impact healthy body composition change, right? Like, we want to look at weight loss under the lens of for real improving my health.
Sure.
What do we do to do that?
I think that's such a good point about the health side of this, because when people get into just weight loss, it's not necessarily always from the health perspective. Let's be honest. Like, vanity is a very big motivator for a lot of us. And guess what? I'm in the same boat. When I had cystic acne, I didn't give a crap about being healthy. I gave a crap about my cystic acne being gone, and eventually just concluded, dang, these pills aren't working. And these ointments, I'm really just going to have to do this health thing. This sucks. So I get there. I've been there as well. But the bottom line is, we've looked at this as a society backwards, especially with the BMI thing. We say, oh, these numbers are wrong, so you must be unhealthy. But the reality is, if I'm healthy, almost by definition, I have to have a reasonable body composition. Yes, there are genetics. There are some guy friends that I have. I mean, they work out 1 day a week, right? And they're just jacked and tan. They can do that thing. There's other people that are not going to be nearly as muscular. But generally, if you look at like the tribes of the past, or even tribes of present that still do exist, definitely Weston A. Price is what I'm thinking. Look up the photos online, guys, of Weston A. Price and the tribes that he interacted with. And you look at how these people just end up being physically when they're in their natural habitats, eating well, doing all this stuff. I mean, certainly there wasn't an obesity issue, that's for sure. But also, you weren't seeing pro-level bodybuilders either. You kind of had this, it was similar. It's not identical, but it was similar. It was like this lean frame that looked athletic. They looked like they were strong and resilient, you know? So if
and
you
there's
get
diversity of body types, right? Like, some people have higher body fat percentage, some people have lower, some people have higher muscle percentage, some people have lower. But there's the extremes are gone.
Absolutely. And that's what I mean. Genetics do matter to a degree, but your genes are still set up in such a way for you to survive and thrive. It doesn't want you to, to not be healthy. So, if I was not paying attention to how I eat at all, I would still probably end up at 6 foot tall and honestly like 160, 165 pounds, which is skinny. It's very lean. I'd still have a little bit of an athletic build, but that was about it. I have to be conscious for me to get, I'm notably higher than that now. I'm like 27 pounds heavier than that, but I have to consciously say, all right, I'm going to eat a specific way so that I can put on the extra weight, because that's what I want to do. But if I just get into a default state of health, it was really interesting how my body just went up about 20 pounds once I started getting healthy. And again, I know most people have the opposite experience. The closest reasoning I could come up with, or the most accurate reasoning I could come up with, was probably my digestion sucked so bad that maybe I wasn't breaking down the food. And for whatever reason, genetically, when I don't break down food, I want to be appropriate here because we have people watching. I'm not trying to embarrass myself. When I don't break down food, it goes somewhere else, right? A place that we all have in our house, rather than to my body. Do I know why? No, but that's what seems to happen for me.
Yeah, and we all have different responses to health crises, right? And I want to circle back to something you mentioned of, like, when I was in my health crisis, I didn't care about the health. I wanted the crisis gone, right? It wasn't like it was more of a vanity focus. And I have so many clients come to me like, I haven't had a bowel movement in 7 days. My blood pressure is high. My A1C is skyrocketed. Okay, what's your primary health concern today? I want to lose weight.
Always.
Right? Like, all this And like name them. So I have this autoimmune disease that's out of control. I never sleep. Like name every health issue. My anxiety is nuts and I can't function. What's your primary goal today? I want to lose weight. Right? Like it infiltrates our brains, and we have to be so diligent to fight that and make health the goal.
Yep.
But when we look at what the science correlates with these like calories in, calories out weight loss programs, they are so, and I'll just give a spoiler here. There is a meta-analysis of these calories in, calories out programs. And the scientists found they were so ineffective. And in fact, they were damaging to health to the point that they recommended insurance companies no longer fund
Wow.
people in weight loss programs because they're not healthful in any way. And so the problem is real. And so your original question of like what can be new in this world, everything is new. Like everything I'm going to tell you is a perspective shift and a paradigm shift. And those can create like this cognitive dissonance, right? Of like, oh, I've been taught weight equals health. I've been taught I need this BMI to be my goal weight. I've been taught to eat this way. I've been taught to exercise this way. I've been taught to judge myself this way. And changing those things can be so challenging. So something else you mentioned that I want to touch on is that we definitely do not ignore the mental, emotional side of health, of weight loss. Like even if you lose weight, or even in your case, like for people who are trying to bulk or people who are trying to lose, if you become mentally obsessed with something to where it's affecting your sense of worth, it's affecting your mental and emotional wellness, that's also not healthy.
Correct.
Right? Or if you have to do these damaging behaviors in order to maintain whatever that weight is, that's also not weight loss the healthy way, right? So all of those things are components of a healthy weight loss program that are completely ignored by calories in, calories out, BMI, weigh yourself.
So well said. Again, the only really way I can relate to it, since I had the opposite weight issue, is the skin thing, because I feel like we actually deal with somewhat similar problems, especially mentally and emotionally, if someone has skin issues versus if they're uncomfortable in their own body. And one of those things is I like that you mentioned it, because maybe there was health challenges, physical ones, that led to the weight or that led to the skin issues originally. But now it's this vicious cycle where the negative self-talk, or, trying one thing and not being able to stick with it because it wasn't evidence-based. Now you're even feeling harder on yourself, or being harder on yourself rather, for the weight thing. I know with acne, it's like, well, the worse it got, which was because of physical health things, the more isolated I became because I didn't want people to see me. Now that's a whole new problem that I'm now adding to my stress bucket. And as we know, as good FDNs, when you have your stress bucket too high, your symptoms are going to just get worse and worse. So that's a really good point about it as well.
Yeah, and stress impacts health, right?
Yeah.
And weight, that's what I meant to say. Stress impacts weight. And so if we're doing these weight loss programs that increase our stress and our obsession and our, it's counterproductive.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's an important piece that's ignored.
I got a quick question for you here. If you guys have any last second ones, let me know. Unfortunately, I have kind of a hard stop on the hour today, but remember, we have a full webinar coming up with Dr. Lori. That's in the thing right there on the video, fdntraining.com/weight loss webinar. If you want to ask Dr. Lori any questions tomorrow, maybe you're watching this afterwards, you're like, oh, dang, I missed the live. No, you didn't. You could still have another one on Instagram tomorrow at FDN Training at 1:00 Eastern Standard Time. Her and Michelle Scarlett, our social media manager, will be on there talking with you guys. And Michelle actually also works with a similar clientele. So that's going to be, actually Wednesday the 20th is today. So she will be on there in 1 hour. Thank you. We have this awesome woman named Tracy who doesn't want to get on the videos here, and that's fine, but she makes everything happen in the background here, so she's correcting me as we go along. God bless you, Tracy. So that is actually today, because today is Wednesday the 20th. So in 1 hour, you guys can go talk to Dr. Lori and Michelle Scarlett, and it's going to be a longer format, I think. The one question I wanted to throw to you from the audience here is, how can we have balanced nutrition without sacrifices? So I think this was from before with certain things that you were talking about. And to be blunt, is that possible? Are you going to have to sacrifice something to have truly balanced nutrition, or is it going to be at least perceived as a sacrifice with what's offered in today's world?
Absolutely, you have to sacrifice. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, no, you can eat all the donuts you want and sit on your couch and never go outside and be healthy and lose weight. That's a lie. But you can figure out a way to fuel your body appropriately, learn how to handle occasional indulgences, right, in a way that your body can handle them so that you're not feeling depleted. Those are two different things, right? Sacrifice versus depletion. Often, calories in, calories out programs leave us feeling so depleted of nutrients that we constantly feel lack. We feel cravings, we feel hunger, we feel this enormous feeling of sacrifice. If you are in a weight loss program and you're fueling yourself healthfully, hunger is not going to be an issue. Cravings are not going to be an issue because your body has what it needs. Now, will you still want to emotionally eat chocolate cake when your boss is an a-hole? Maybe, right? And maybe not doing that will feel like a sacrifice, or Halloween is going to feel like a sacrifice if you don't get to just sit there and eat all the candy that your heart desires. But there are ways to occasionally indulge in a balanced way. But the lack of depletion that a healthful weight loss program gives you will make those sacrifices maybe not feel like sacrifices. There'll be things like you're doing it intentionally instead of, getting pulled along resistantly.
Absolutely. All right, folks, I think, we do have one more here. Awesome. This is going to be our last one, if that's okay. Empowering your life. I'm sorry that I don't know your actual name, or I don't remember it, but I've seen you before on our live, so welcome again. Is there new science on weight loss, though? I would love to hear about the science. So much info out there. What should one do? Came on late. We'll definitely come to the webinar, and I don't mean to just advertise that, but it's $0, so you might as well come on and get a more formal presentation there. But let's at least tease it. Is there new science, I'm hoping, for this?
That's such a it's an unintentionally funnily worded question, because no, the science is not new. Being honest about the science, yeah, that's totally new.
Okay, no, I can think of a million examples. First of all, I love light and circadian biology. There is new data coming out, but a lot of the best stuff you can find from 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Even the ketogenic diet, which I'm not saying is for everyone, there was efficacy for that, or efficacy studies showing the efficacy of that. For seizures. What was that? Almost 100 years ago now, if not more. So yeah, sometimes it's new to us, even if it's not literally new. And I get why you said in the beginning you don't want to put your conspiracy hat on, and I'm a reasonable thinker too, or I like to believe I am at least. I think the thing is, though, for people like us that actually get into this, especially you, some of the stuff is so ridiculous when you realize it that it is hard to believe that it's just an oversight. Is that fair to say? If you don't agree with that, please let me know.
Yeah, well, and yeah, sometimes when you're like, okay, no one's experience supports the efficacy of calories in, calories out. The science doesn't support the efficacy of calories in, calories out. So, and there are other conventional medicine paradigms that mirror this as well, like cholesterol, blood pressure kind of stuff. That you're like, how on earth did this grab hold? And one part of me is like, who did this benefit? But another part is like, maybe it's because it's easier. Like, it's easier to teach an equation. It's easier to share a table with everyone. It's easier to get on a scale. Like, convenience and quick, productivity, because we are a capitalist, productive minded, get them in, get them out, get them in, get them out, get them in, get them out. Well, if you're just doing 4 things, tell me this, step on that. Maybe that's all it was. is the convenience? Or maybe it's a little both.
This is why I love talking to you, because it's so hard to get someone that can see both sides with that. And the reality is, I think we both agree on this too. It's a good final note. If there's 100 examples of this where we're like, could be, some malintent, could be just oversight or convenience or whatever. The truth is, there's probably examples of both of those things.
Yeah.
If you have 100 cases, I should have said, there's probably instances of both of those things. It's just always kind of hard to tell which one at which time. And I disagree just as much with the people that think everything's a conspiracy as those that kind of think everything's just an innocent oversight. I don't know that humans are that great. I think we do some things sometimes. So if you want more juicy information, join us for the weight loss webinar, fdntraining.com/weight loss webinar. And also, if you're considering an advanced course with us, if you want to purchase this, you could always go directly to fdntraining.com, go under the advanced courses tab, and then click it. But at the same time, I want everyone to always make an informed purchase. So come to the free webinar first, and then you get to learn about the course, and then you can decide if it's a good fit for you. I hope that's a common theme that we always get across here. Yes, we're a business. We got to sell a certain amount of courses each month, but we never want people buying things that they don't need or that won't benefit them. So join us on the webinar. Dr. Lori, thanks for always bringing the passion. You're one of my favorite